Why was the squirrel murdered by officials? This is the squirrel that was kept indoors. The man rescued the squirrel, and he had it for 7 years, and he'd moved to various places. When he first rescued the squirrel, his idea was to release it back into the wild. And when he initially released it, he came back the next day, and half the tail was missing, and so clearly he thought that the squirrel probably wouldn't survive out in the wild, so he kept the squirrel. And then he put it on the internet, social media. Everybody loved the squirrel, and that actually brought him some income, and he was using that to partly fund his his animal sanctuary. He had quite a few rescue animals in the sanctuary. And then the officials burst in, raided his home, and euthanized the squirrel. So, what is happening in this situation? Let's see. Fledgling. This was the squirrel that was not able to survive in the wild. And let's see. Listening. His part of his mistake was putting the squirrel onto social media because people were listening. And this is the squirrel here. He was very playful. If you see those videos, it's an absolute crying shame that such a beautiful creature was euthanized. What were the officials thinking when they raided that property? Wishing. They wished to enforce the law. They wished to stamp their authority on the situation. Yeah, following the letter of the law and not using common sense. Yeah, they were very rigid in their application of the law. Why did they feel the need to... this one jumped out. What goes round comes round. No, that's the hidden. They didn't expect it to get the media attention that it was. So in the upright, it's hidden, and in that upside down, it's exposed. They've been exposed. Tell us more about the officials and their heavy-handed approach. Forbidden. Yeah, they said you're not allowed to do this, and we're going to enforce the law no matter what. Very rigid. And part of the issue was that the man in question was in the process of getting a permit to get an exemption to the law that you're not allowed to own squirrels indoors or keep squirrels indoors. The other thing is that he had also moved from around to various states, so I don't know if the other states where he'd been living didn't have that prohibition. Self-worth. They didn't like the idea that there was somebody out there perceived to be flaunting the law, and this was one of the reasons why they decided to do this. Why were they so heavy-handed? Why did they raid the place with 8 to 10 officers and keep him detained and not let him feed his horses while they were raiding the house? Usually you would keep somebody detained if they were a risk. See, that's a risk card. But in the upside down, he was no risk at all. The gentleman was no risk at all. Meditation. They didn't think it through, these officials. If they just knocked on the door and said, "Hey, we understand you're keeping a squirrel in here. Let's have a conversation and see how we can resolve it," things would have gone very differently. Denial. This is kind of my two cards for sort of like a drowning person. They didn't like the idea that their department was, in somebody's eyes, being made to look bad for not enforcing the law. Okay, let's quickly read on who would have reported this. The person who reported this issue with the squirrel. Predatory. Somebody who really did not like this man who's running this animal sanctuary, supporting, I think he said, 300 animals. and much of the income to support the animal sanctuary was from the social media of the squirrel. I think he had over 1 million followers, and he's very cute. I've seen a couple of videos. Very cute. The horse is bolted. The horse is bolted. Might be somebody from whom one of those rescue horses was rescued. Could be. Could be. This is the officials blindly enforcing the law without giving it much thought. The thing is also, once you've euthanized the squirrel, and he also had a raccoon pal that was rescued by this gentleman. Once you euthanize the animal, there's no going back. If they just slowed down and took the matters more cautiously, then a less drastic solution could have been found. Yeah, now it's too late to go from famine to feast. The department felt like they were being disrespected, and they wanted to be seen in a good light. But unfortunately, this has backfired on them. Very heavy-handed and potentially unnecessary in this situation. Could be the death of the careers of the officers involved. Yeah, whoever authorized that raid is going to be in serious trouble. Yeah, death. My two death cards. Heads will roll. I mean, there's nothing you can do to bring the squirrel back. Let's just read quickly on the future of the sanctuary now. That's not going to have that income from the squirrel. Oh, the future looks bright. That's good. Some unexpected funding might be coming their way. Oh, there's the horses again. The horses that they've rescued, looking well and healthy. It's also a fast forward movement, moving to good things, better times, although it's dark now. Balance. Yeah, officials need to get some balance when they enforce these types of laws. It's not just, not always black and white. Sometimes there's nuances to it, and they need to have some balance. So this incident will hopefully teach the officials a lesson about having some balance. And I mean, it's just absolutely tragic. That little squirrel was so gorgeous. I understand the reason for the law in the general sense, but also people need to look at things on a case-by-case basis. And yeah, it's doing no favors to the department that enforced this. And I wonder even if laws might change where I don't understand why the owner wasn't given an opportunity to have some kind of a review or something like that. But that balance, hopefully the balance will come, if not in the actual law, but potentially in the way that the law is applied. So from these cards, it's looking like some good will come of it, even though it's a very tragic situation. What do you think of it? Do you think that was heavy-handed? Do you think the man was stupid to put the squirrel on social media? Do you think, well, he breached the law and it was his own fault for breaching the law? I mean, he was living out in this rural area, and he'd made an animal sanctuary, so it's not like he was keeping it in his apartment in the middle of New York, although he did that initially when he first rescued it. So do you think the officials were too heavy-handed? Remember to like if you do and subscribe if you haven't. And I hope that the angels walk with you now and every day.